All right. Welcome to episode 52 of the Don't Be Ridiculous podcast. It is Sunday, about 7 p.m. on the East Coast. And surprisingly, although I'm trying to come up with a new word because I don't think surprisingly covers it, but we are celebrating another Dolphins win. 3 games, 3 wins.
It's true. Yeah, it was. I didn't think they were going to win this game. I thought the Bills would win by like 2 scores. I was just kind of thinking, all right, can we make it a game? For a quarter or for a half. And after the first half, it was a game. I was like, all right, not bad. I was kind of cool with that. And then we get into the fourth quarter, it's still a game. And then Miami takes the lead. It's like, all right, I'll just roll with this whole thing. So yeah. I guess what are your overall thoughts on the game?
Amazing game. At one point it was kind of like I had the same attitude as you. I was like, all right, let's just hang in there and see what happens. And then when, we got the lead in the fourth quarter, it was like, all right, now we can win this. And now it's like, well, excuse me. Obviously, we're going to win this game now. And it's like, oh, no, wait. We're going to try to screw this up.
Yeah. We're going to punt the ball off the one of our own guys' butts, and we're going to, get a safety. Yeah. We're going to screw this up in classic Dolphins fashion.
Yeah, just fantastic. And, the Dolphins have the lead. Buffalo comes down, and at one point I'm texting you like, well, let's just let them score. Like, there's 2 minutes to go. If they score, they'll only be up 3. Like, we'll have plenty of time. We had at least one timeout.
Right.
It's like, all right, we'll be fine. We can go down and, we can either get the game-winning touch. Tua can win the game at the buzzer again, or, we'll kick a field goal and tie it. I was like, oh, okay, it's good shape. But then we actually stopped them in that last play, the fourth down where Josh Allen throws the ball at the feet of the guy in the end zone that was open.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, wow. And then we run the 3, I'm sitting there, the Dolphins have the ball at their own 1. I'm like, well, are they going to take the chance and throw the ball on third down? And, they run 2 plays.
They did, but Von Miller screwed it up.
Yeah. So then they put 2 in the shotgun, but then, there's a free rusher right in his face, so he can't really do anything. And, the running back was open. If he'd have gotten to him, he would have at least gained, enough yards to make it an okay punt. And then I think it was Sherfield was the guy in the way of the punt.
Yeah.
And so he punted it. So they're calling it the butt punt.
Right.
So the Jets have the butt fumble, and the Dolphins now have the butt punt. Excuse me.
Yeah, the butt punt. Yeah.
Which is too hard to say. They should have made that. They should have made that easier. But and honestly, Trent Green's doing the game, and I actually for most of the game I had the sound off, but for that part I heard Trent Green going, they should just take a safety, just throw it out of the end zone and take a safety. And I was like, that's not. I was thinking that's not a bad idea
from farther up, and which they did.
Right. It's not a bad idea. And then when they got the safety, it was kind of like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me with this? Like, really? Yeah. Like, we do all of this. Like, I would have been happy if we were competitive in this game, and we have it in the bag now, and now we're going to screw it up. It's like, are you kidding? So we punt it from, at least get to punt it from the 20, which, by the way, that was a hell of a kick. Like, I think the Buffalo Bills guy caught it at the their own 10-yard line.
Yeah, that was a great punt.
And then, you could see throughout the game, Buffalo was struggling with the heat. Like, it was palpable. Yeah. It made a difference in that game, and I don't believe if that game's played in 75 degrees. I don't think the Dolphins win that game. But that being said, hell of a job by the defense. I wrote down in my notes, amazing job by the defense. I don't know how they managed to do that. It was something else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess so every game this season, rightly or wrongly, is going to be a referendum on Tua. So we'll just get that out of the way. The Dolphins' offense was not on the field very much because the defense was, I don't know if this was part of the game plan or not, but the defense was basically just slowing Buffalo down. They never let Buffalo blow the top off the defense. So I guess they were trying to keep things in front of them and trying to get pressure on Josh Allen, which, at different times it sort of worked. But it's really, first of all, it's really hard to get there. And then even if you get there, how do you get him down? Because they'll just run away from you, or he's so big, he's hard to tackle. But the Dolphins didn't have that many possessions. But if you really look at it, I think they were efficient with the possessions that they did have. I mean, I think they started off, they couldn't, I think they ended up having to punt, and then Buffalo got the ball, and then they got the turnover, and then they, from like inside the 10-yard line, they got that in for a touchdown. And then there was the other drive where they were down 14-7, and Tua drove them down there and threw a great touchdown pass to Craycraft, which, if you watch the throw, like, I thought he showed really great anticipation. And it was kind of far down. Well, I'm trying to remember exactly where that throw was from, but it was a great job by him. I thought he threw it before the guy came out around the coverage. So, great job by him. So they tied it at 14, and then Tua had the, he got knocked down, which, by the way, everyone's forgetting this. He threw the ball before he got knocked down and had to be taken out for the concussion protocol, and they got the first down. And he had a defender coming up on him, and he was able to get away just enough and then get the ball so Jalen Waddle could catch the ball and complete the third down, so they got a first down. Which makes you wonder if he didn't get hurt, if they would have been able to keep driving, because that was like a kind of a 2-3 minute situation. And then in the second half, he came back. I guess he cleared the protocol, and then he had that game-winning drive, which that's a game-winning drive in the fourth quarter. And he had those two downfield throws to Jalen Waddle. And then they were able to run it in for the touchdown. So they were pretty efficient. I mean, you would have liked to have seen them done more, but they didn't have the ball that much. So it's kind of difficult. And then the whole thing is with the defense, you're like, well, they gave up all these yards, but the Bills only scored 17 points. They scored 19, but 2 of those were for the safety. So it's like, all right, I mean, I guess that's not that bad. Now, again, the weather definitely played a factor. If they have to go play this they're going to go play this game in Buffalo in December, and then we'll see, because we both obviously have our concerns about Tua playing in weather. But overall, I like what I've seen from Tua the past 2 weeks. And even I can even find some stuff in the first game that I can say I liked. So, it's kind of like, all right, I like the play calling. I think they're on a good trajectory. They have so much talent on offense, and I think they're making the most use of it. So, good win is, and some people are going to say, well, you guys, you can't give up that much offense and expect to win. Well, yeah, that's fine. But in this particular case, in this particular game, the Dolphins did what they needed to do to win the game. So,
listen, the game came down to a couple of things. The Dolphins were 3 for 3 in the red zone. Got 3 touchdowns. We were worried about their red zone offense from after the first game, and they were 3 for 3 in the red zone. The Bills were 2 for 4. That's what won the game.
Yeah.
The Bills, yes, they moved the ball up and down the field all day. The Bills ran 80 plays on offense. The Dolphins ran 39. Yeah. So they had the ball twice as long. They ran twice as many plays, and they still only scored 17 points, and they only scored 3 points in the second half.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't want to make this as an excuse, but that was like that throw for the to try to get the touchdown on fourth down. That was his by that point he'd thrown over 50 passes.
He threw 63 passes in the game.
Total in the game, yeah, exactly. So I'm just saying, if he hadn't had to do that, if that was his 40th attempt or something, maybe that's completed. Because Josh Allen he did a ton in this game.
Yep, he had 400 yards passing, 47 yards rushing.
Yeah,
he's a monster.
He's so tough to bring down. You get him to third down, you think you got him, and then he gets away from you, and you can't bring him down. He's fast enough. He can stiff arm people. The Bills are still a really good team, and it's still, anytime the Bills play this iteration anytime the Dolphins play this iteration of the Bills, it's going to be tough to get a win. So it's really, and they haven't beaten them in the last 7 times they've played. So yeah.
I'm sorry, his name's not Josh Allen. It's the Sasquatch.
Yes, we've been calling him the Sasquatch.
We beat the Sasquatch. Yeah, because he must be from another planet. And
because he's running around out there. He's bigger than a lot of the people. He's bigger than the offensive lineman. He's bigger than. It's ridiculous.
So, question: is the Buffalo-Miami rivalry back?
Kind of, if you watch some of the stuff that happened in that game, like when Josh Allen ripped the guy's helmet off and got a personal foul. Yeah, because they were trying the whole game. They were trying to get to Josh Allen and hit him and get him down, which was very difficult. But yeah, I mean, and I got to give Allen a lot of credit. I mean, I know he's going to get some people are going to give him, like, Nick Wright's going to give him shit tomorrow. He's going to be like, oh well, you had the game right there and you blew it. Which he's been any opportunity he gets, and then he's going to somehow downplay the fact that the Chiefs lost to the Colts. But whatever.
I think Buffalo was worn out. I mean, let's be honest. Yeah. I think that's what happened in that game. They had it kind of worked to their disadvantage that they had the ball all of that time.
Yeah.
And you saw how it was difficult to, sustain drives, and then Buffalo would pull it out by, all right, we'll throw this guy, we'll barely get this guy for the third down. Josh Allen will take off and run. And, the Dolphins played their butts off in this game. I think it's crazy to win a game when the other team has the ball that much. It's kind of an anomaly. You can't expect things like this. But I thought the offense was efficient. It would have been nice if they could have extended a few more drives.
And the thing was, with the Tua having the injury, and then like that drive, I would have liked to have seen if Tua hadn't gotten hurt. And then they had the 2 3-and-outs. In the second half, that God, if they could have one of those, just get a drive going. By the way, live right as we're recording this, so the Bucs just got the ball back with 3:04 left. They're down 14-6 to the Packers at home. So
yeah, it just shows how upside down the NFL is. So, well, we'll get into that in a minute. But I think the Dolphins were trying to take shots at Josh Allen every chance they got. It was definitely intense and feisty. So we'll see what happens, because we know what's when the Dolphins go up to Buffalo in December, the fans are going to be out for blood. They're going to be not happy that they lost this game. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But listen, the Dolphins are not only in first place in their division, we're in first place in the conference. The Dolphins are the 1 seed.
Yeah. Again, it's September, so we don't want to go completely overboard, but. It is what it is. Hey, it's 3-0. I thought they were going to be, 1-2 at this point, and they're 3-0. So now they're going into the Bengals game. You could lose the Bengals game. I'm kind of like, I don't care. If we're 3-1 after the first month of the year, like, that's pretty awesome. So what other games did you want to talk about? I'm with you on the Dolphins outlook. Like, this is better than I expected, and they have a real shot at the playoffs now. Yeah, honestly, I'm like, now I really think they're going to make the playoffs.
If they find a way,
they've got some stretches of their schedule that are much easier. So, and this first part was really tough. Now, I think the end of their schedule is tough, but in between there's a lot of games that they should be able to win, or at least a lot of games that you would think they're going to be in this game with a chance to win. So.
Yeah, if they win, if they beat the Bengals, we got an extra time off before we play the Jets. So. The Dolphins, we could be looking at 5-0. Like, I'm not trying to go crazy here, but we could be looking at 5-0 if we, But Thursday night going on the road is going to be difficult.
Yeah, and like I said, look, the offensive line concerns me a little bit because they kept having people going in and out during this game. But they have so much talent on offense, and I feel like they've been able to run the ball, decently, sometimes. I would have liked them to be able to run the ball a little better when they were pinned up against the goal line in that game. But, and Jalen Waddle had over 100 yards on 4 catches. He had some huge catches in this game. They didn't have the ball enough to get Tyreek Hill going. They got him some catches, but,
Yeah, they only had 41 yards rushing, so that's something to keep in mind. What I'm looking for the rest of the season is, can the Dolphins figure out how to generate a pass rush without blitzing? Because I think it was a bit of an issue in this game. They don't have a guy that can just get to the quarterback when they need it. But they, listen, no complaints. Anyway, so moving on to the other games this Sunday, there were some wild ones. Lamar Jackson was unbelievable today. I think he had 4 touchdowns. Does he have now? 4 touchdowns throwing today and 1 touchdown running. He had, I think, 250 yards passing and 100 yards running. Like, he's just, like, if you ask me who's the MVP, like, I think it's Lamar Jackson. Like, and plus,
he's literally the first 3 games he's having an MVP year because we have questions about their defense. the other guys on the team, like, what are you guys doing? It just seems like it's Lamar Jackson running the show.
So yeah, and he is, I watched the highlights of the game. I watched parts of the game that I could see, and then I watched the highlights a little while ago. And I mean, he's really smart. He's just gotten really smart about when he runs, how he runs. He makes sure to not take a big hit, and the throwing the ball. I mean, he was dropping some dimes in this game. He threw one in the corner of the end zone that was a touchdown. He had a deep ball that the receiver dropped. He put it right in his hand. Like, he was really something today. So, their defense has some issues. I think they have some problems covering. They did okay pass rush wise, and they got a bunch of turnovers, which is why they won the game. They had 3 interceptions and a fumble recovery, which is, that's why they won. And, but the Patriots were in that game, even with, the way, all the turnovers they made. So, that was, that stuck out to me. Let's not kid ourselves, okay? I know the Dolphins beat Baltimore last week. Lamar Jackson's just a much better player.
Lamar Jackson is he's so good. Literally, if his defense could have gotten a couple stops in that game, they would have easily won. So
he was ridiculous.
But that does kind of. I thought that at the beginning of the year, I thought the class of the AFC was, like the Bills and the Ravens and the Bengals, and I guess you throw the Chiefs in there. But now I'm kind of like, it's the Bills and the Chiefs, and the Bengals are obviously they've been struggling a little bit. They won today, but and the Ravens, obviously we got questions about their defense. We don't have questions about Lamar Jackson, as we just discussed.
Yeah, Kansas City lost to Indianapolis. And let me tell you something. Again, we're going to go. I don't know. I think this is going to be just a running topic on our show, Clark. Teams going for it on fourth down and doing not only going for it, doing stupid things on fourth down. Okay, the Kansas City Chiefs, they had the lead. Well, first of all, Kansas City only had 3 points in the second half. Like, that's quite disturbing against the Colts. Like, Colts defense is okay, but come on. The other thing was they missed a field goal in the they missed an extra point and a field goal. They get to they've got the lead, though. After all that, they got the lead. It's 17-13 with 8 minutes to go. They get the ball down. They're at the Colts 20. It's 4th and 10. Okay? They try a fake field goal. Okay? They complete this pass for 5 yards. Of course, they don't get it. The Colts, they have this huge drive. They come down to the end. They score the game-winning touchdown with about 24 seconds left.
Wait a minute. Excuse me. It was 4th and 10, and they tried a fake field goal?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, if it's 4th and 10, don't go for it with your offense, but don't go for a fake field goal when it's 4th and 10. I mean, what?
Yeah, exactly. There was an altercation going into halftime. Patrick Mahomes wanted to try to go for more points, and they basically were conservative. They had
I saw that him and Eric Bieniemy got into it.
They had the lead, and Mahomes wanted to score, whatever, which I understand, but it's what's underrated in a lot of this stuff is game management. A lot of these coaches, they either don't know how to do it or they just choose not to because it was just foolish. Get the 7-point lead. I just don't understand what happened to 3 points. Why is 3 points bad?
Yeah. First, what is the second and goal?
Bucks second and goal. The Bucks are dry. Bucks are inside the 10, I think. But now there's going to be, I think it's pass interference on Green Bay, so they're going to get.
Yeah, that's interference.
New set of downs. But anyway, so go. Yeah, what do you think about the Chiefs? Go ahead.
So I mean that's definitely concerning. I mean, look, the Colts are fighting for their season, and they were at home, so that's a tough environment to be in if you're the visiting team. So that is concerning. I mean, Andy Reid has definitely had his issues with clock management over the years, as great of a coach as he is. So that with clock management, and then I guess, but that's weird. The decision making there, I don't really. I mean, I guess they had some decision making issues with in the AFC Championship game last year at the end of the first half of that game. So that's one of those things, man. A lot of these games come down to. It was funny. I was watching the post game show on CBS, and James Brown was like, he said to Phil Simmons, what are we seeing in all these games where there's so many close finishes? And he just said, look, it's a league of parity, and it really, on any given Sunday, anything can happen. It doesn't, and that's the thing. You can't really overreact. Do I think the Chiefs are all of a sudden a bad team now? No, but there's some concern there, But yeah, that's and the Colts. I just wonder, like, you know, I didn't see I don't know what's happened in the Jaguars Chargers game, but I mean, Trevor Lawrence looks a lot better.
The Jaguars beat the hell out of them.
Okay,
38-10. Yeah,
Whoa.
Jacksonville looks like I'm not going to say.
There's a throw I saw Trevor Lawrence make into the end zone. That's like, okay, that's why this guy was like, this is a can't miss prospect. This is this guy's your franchise quarterback. So it's like,
Yeah,
I saw some of those last year, but now it looks like he's definitely on the right trajectory.
Yeah, they definitely look like the best team in that division. Granted, the division's pretty bad, but they've got something. It's a completely different team. Just getting rid of the difference between getting rid of Urban Meyer and having Doug Peterson as your coach it's a big gap.
Yes.
So, yeah, no, I'm not concerned about the Chiefs. I'm just this going for it on fourth down thing. Like here's my thing, or my overriding point about that is if it's 4th and 1, I really don't care where you are on the field. Like I'm fine with it. You want to go for 4th and 1 every time? Go ahead. You should be able to get a yard. If you can't get a yard, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like you shouldn't be out there if you can't get a yard. Number one. Number two, just take the points when they're available. Like
depending on what part of the game it is. I mean, a lot of times you just want to take the points.
Right. You don't know what's going to happen in the rest of this game, and the NFL games are mostly decided by one score or less. Yeah. So,
And remember, the Bills, they should have had a field goal at the end of the first half in that game, and they kind of blew that. And it's like, well, that could have made the whole difference in the game right there. So, when you have points like that, you gotta get it. So.
Yeah, and the Bills go for it on fourth down, more than anybody, and they mostly get it because they've got, Josh Allen, but it's they've got the Sasquatch. Excuse me. So
and I'm kind of concerned the Dolphins have tried. They seem to try multiple quarterback sneaks in that game, and I'm kind of like, with Tua, do you really want to be doing that? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a bit of an issue.
I was kind of like, I don't know that we should. I mean, even though I understand a quarterback sneak, you can kind of maybe catch him unaware for a second, but I'm just like, he's just really small. So,
but at the end of the game, they know you're going to do it. So it makes it a little more difficult. The other thing was the Philadelphia Eagles. I thought it was funny when I was making a joke earlier for our season preview. Well, the Eagles are going to get the one.
Tampa Bay.
Do the Eagles get the 1 seed? And they won again. They beat Washington.
The Eagles, I know they're not. Well, Jalen Hurts looks like he's more efficient. I mean, I saw some of the throws he's making. I mean, he's pretty damn good. They're really bringing him along. So. At this point, the Rams have kind of been inconsistent. It looked like they won today, but in the Vikings, they almost lost to Detroit. And we all know how Kirk Cousins is in primetime. I kind of think the Eagles, they're kind of the best team in the NFC right now, which again, it's early in the season. So, you don't want to take too much from that, but.
He had some major throws in the game today. So the Raiders lost again.
What is going on with the Raiders? I thought I didn't think they'd be 3-0, but I thought they'd be better than this. I mean, it doesn't seem like they're playing that well.
Yeah, I didn't see a whole lot of the game today. It looked like they kind of got outplayed and had to come back. And the first game against the Chargers, they could have won. They were in it. They just needed a little bit more to win, and then they had a 20-0 lead last week and managed to blow that. So, I don't know. I think you're 0-3 in that division. Granted, Denver hasn't looked great, and the Chiefs just lost, and the Chargers.
Herbert's got
are 1-2.
Rib cartilage injury, and they lost today. So
so they're not out of it.
Yeah. Did the Bucs just get to delay a game on the 2-point? Yeah, they just got to delay a game on the 2-point conversion attempt.
Oh, good Lord!
Speaking of game management, it's
fits right in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, the game management blows my mind. I didn't have any other major thoughts. I
I'm
thought
trying to think of what the other games were. I mean, what was Thursday night was the Browns and the Steelers, which was basically unwatchable. Although we did find it funny that in the offseason, Colin Cowherd he loved that they signed Mitch Trubisky, and now it's like, yeah, Mitch Trubisky can't really do much.
Oh, here's what we got to talk about before we go to college football. So we got to. I mean, we talked about the assessment of Tua, because it's going to be every week.
Yes.
Every week's going to be a referendum. But we didn't get into. So last week after the Dolphins won, it was, first of all, it was very, very fascinating last Monday because the Dolphins were the lead-in to all the morning sports shows, which I can't tell you the last time that happened.
Yeah, we get kind of ignored down here.
Right. So that was a little odd. And then, the takes on Tua, like now there's just this, all the people that have been saying that, have been on his side, have been pro Tua, are now just, insane about it. And, there's like I feel like there's this push to not be impressed. I feel like a lot of these on a lot of these shows, it's just they don't want to be impressed by anything, and so I just found that interesting. And you and I ended up on the same side where it's like now we have to defend Tua because the ridiculous takes and everybody just going overboard. It's just like acting like he didn't do anything well, and like everybody's afraid to give him credit because if you're on the we don't think Tua's going to work side, then you have to now say that means, I think he's going to be good. I'm going back on my take now. I can't do that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a lot of what's happening. So go ahead, your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I like how Ryan Russillo approached it. I mean, he basically said, because the week before, he's like, is Tua a backup quarterback? Which was kind of warranted after week one. And then after last week, he's like, I don't know, do I have to kind of change my opinion on this? I don't know. I mean,
Right.
So, and I liked what Steve Young said about it, where he just was talking about how he looks more comfortable and, he looks good in the pocket, and which, I agree with. Especially last week, I thought he got really good protection. This game, the protection was okay. It could have been better at different times. But, again, the Bills' pass rush is really tough to deal with. It was just kind of ridiculous how people were acting like Colin Cowherd and some other people were acting like he made basically two throws and that was the whole game. Now if he didn't get those two long bombs to Tyreek Hill, they wouldn't have won the game. But, first of all, the idea that both of those were busted coverage. The second one definitely was. The first one, you could maybe argue that, but it wasn't as egregious as the second one. And still Tua had to chuck the ball down like 50 yards in the air, and he anticipated it. He saw it immediately and got the ball down there. So, and you're like, this is underthrown a little bit. Oh, I'm sorry. Every great quarterback never underthrows a pass, ever. I'm sorry. No, every great quarterback never gets behind. Every great quarterback never takes advantage of mistakes by the defense. And I love we watched that Kurt Warner video. He's like, look, if the defense makes a mistake, it's not my problem. If I throw for 400 yards because there's a bunch of busted coverages, oh well. So, it was a little ridiculous. And people just can't, no one can really come down in the middle. They have to be either all in, like he's going to be amazing, or they're just, no, I still don't buy it. I need to see more. Now, look, I'm not saying I think he's going to be an elite quarterback, or I'm not saying that from what I've seen the last 2 weeks, he's an elite quarterback now. But I do think that given how I was at the end of last year, I think the door has peeked open a little bit to him maybe being the 15th best quarterback in the league, the 14th best quarterback, the Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins territory, Right. I think he could potentially get there. I still need to see more. But, to act like he wasn't impressive, the way he threw with anticipation, his accuracy, he threw the ball 50 times last week. And then even in this game, he was really, he had a throw this game that should have been picked off. Probably should have been a pick six. But he was really accurate on most of his throws. There was one that was dropped, I think, on the first drive. The throws, the touchdown pass, the two throws down the field to Jalen Waddle were, right on the money. So, I've been impressed. He needs to keep it up.
Yeah, I was blown away by, you brought up Colin Cowherd. He's just like, how impressed were you? He was like doing this game where it was like all the quarterbacks in the NFL. Are you not that impressed, kind of impressed, or really impressed? Right. So there were 3 choices.
Yeah.
So he goes through the list. Tua, he's like, not that impressed. I mean, geez, he's hitting wide open receivers down the field. It's just like, so let me get this straight. He throws for 460 yards and 6 touchdowns. Not impressed. Nothing. No, I'm not impressed at all. And it's like
because guys, remember, look, you have to understand. Okay, in his first 2 years in the league, he was either average or below average. Okay, if you watched a lot of the games, which we did. Okay, and so for him to get 6 touchdowns and that many yards, like, we're watching. It's like, where the hell did this come from? Like, because when he was coming out of college, all these people were saying all this stuff about how good he was going to be. In the first 2 years, it really didn't look like that. And that was the first time it's like, wow, he actually made plays. So yeah, it was impressive. Now, do I expect him to do that every week? Of course not. But do I think how he is somewhere between that and somewhere between how he played the previous 2 years? Like, yeah, probably.
Yeah, and so it just kind of blew me away. Where it's just kind of like people were like, no, it wasn't that good, and like you said, they want to boil it down to 2 throws. Like, okay, you didn't watch the game, obviously. Anybody who says that didn't watch the game because the guy was leading them up and down the field the whole game. Like we're acting like, oh my God, he had these 2 amazing throws where the guys were wide open. It's like, yeah, so what? All the throws in the game, everybody was not wide open.
And then the other thing that pissed me off was Colin Cowherd saying the last touchdown to Jalen Waddle, he was overthrown. Bullshit. Okay? If you watch that, go back and watch that play. Okay, first I'm trying to remember which one that was. Okay, that was the one where the pocket started to break down. Tua stepped up, and then he went left, and then Jalen Waddle was coming across, and the defender was kind of on his back, and he threw it up, so Jalen Waddle jumped up and grabbed it. So, no, he threw it right where his guy could get it. So no, it was a great throw. So
yeah, and what really made me mad? Like, forget you don't think it's that impressive? Fine. He was really impressed by Jared Goff and Derek Carr last week. That's where I'm like, I draw the line. Okay, stop.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Jared Goff was fine. He wasn't great. He was okay in that game. He led them to a win. Great job. But it wasn't impressive. And Derek Carr blew a 20-point lead at home. Like, I know wins are not a quarterback stat. I know that's fashionable. But for God's sakes, dude, you had the entire second half.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what to say.
Right.
So that drove me insane.
But I mean, that's kind of what we expect. And to be honest, I mean, I think Tua's going to they're going to criticize him this week because they're going to be like, well, you only had 21 points and you didn't. You only threw the ball 18 times, and they're going to completely ignore the context that Tua wasn't on the field that much because the Bills' offense was just running up and down the field for extended periods of time. So,
yeah. So,
I guess Tua's not going to get any credit for getting pushed down on the ground, hitting his head, and then I think they said he had a back injury too, and having to be taken out of the game, then come back in, and then lead a game-winning drive. Which, yes, he led a game-winning drive in that game. So 2 weeks in a row, by the way. 2 game-winning drives, 2 weeks in a row.
Right. You want to talk about underthrowing passes? Josh Allen underthrew that pass on the 4th down at the end of the game, where the guy was less than 10 yards away.
Josh Allen, dude, he's amazing. I don't want to be one of those people. I mean, he had the game there, but I don't want to rip on him. He
Josh Allen, not clutch. There's no clutch in Sasquatch. Anyway, we'll move on from that. So, so I wanted to go through some of the college football stuff I saw yesterday. So, my overall take from college football yesterday is, number one, it's hard to win. Okay? Yeah. Like, I don't care who you are, it's hard to win. And number two, I'm not interested in anything you've done unless you've played a Power 5 team. Until you've played a Power 5 team, I really don't care how you did. And if you played Vanderbilt, I care maybe 10%.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this every year in college football. All of these teams beating no one and getting all of this credit for it. We have no idea how good they are.
Yeah.
And then they play a real opponent, and boy, it looks a whole lot different, doesn't it? I'm not saying that Michigan and Clemson aren't good teams. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we don't know yet.
Yeah, we really don't. Yeah, absolutely.
We don't know. Michigan had a rough game against Maryland. Okay, they hung in there and managed to win at the end, but it was a tough battle. And Clemson had to go to overtime to beat Wake Forest.
That was an exciting game.
It was a hell of a great
Wake
game.
Forest quarterback, he was throwing some dimes.
Yeah, which was it was a strange game in the sense that Clemson usually is controlled by their defense. In this game, their offense was fantastic, which we've all been waiting for that. And there's been all kinds of criticism of the Clemson quarterback, DJ Uyunglele. So
yeah,
and they've got a freshman there that really high class recruit that everybody wanted to bring in, and he brought it in that game, and they had 38 points in regulation. So I thought that was really, really fun game, but it's just kind of, we don't know. Like, I can tell you a couple things for sure, right? I think Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State are good. I think.
Yes.
Okay? I don't know exactly how good, right? But I know they're good. I know they're good, but, let's slow down in September. And I think the NFL is going to be kind of like this now, too. Because of the less practice time, and plus in college football, all the guys transferring all over the place. September is going to be pretty much preseason. That's pretty much how we have to look at it. I mean, I hate to say that, but I don't think these aren't the teams you're going to be getting in December.
Yeah, I think by the time we're going to start to, the middle of next month, it's going to start to be like, okay, I think this team's pretty good, and it's going to be it should start to be a little more clear. But again, that's the other thing you have to do. You have to be careful with the NFL is, week to week, it's just unlike college. Like college, Miami loses to Middle Tennessee State. Like, what are you doing? You can't lose to Middle Tennessee State. Like what, the NFL, that can happen. It's like, all right, well, it was 1 week, so.
Yeah. All right. So go through some of my random thoughts. I listen, I love college football. It's fun. It's a lot of fun to watch. The games are exciting. It's every weekend. It's a lot of fun. But the level of play in college football is nowhere near the NFL. Like, I enjoy college, but I'm sorry, the NFL is a much better product.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I struggle with in college. Yeah, I watch it and I see some of the decisions that quarterbacks make, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? And I see some of the different plays that get called, and it just seems like so much of it is basically they schemed up a play, and it's like, all right, you're going to throw the ball here. And it just kind of, I'm like, I watch the NFL and I'm like, yeah, they wouldn't do that way, or there would be some other play that they could make. Yeah, so.
It's and they've really screwed up the television product. The NFL does a much better, and listen, I don't have a lot of positive things to say about the NFL, okay? But one positive thing I do have to say is their TV product is much better. It's succinct, it's efficient, okay? With the replays don't take 10 years like they do in the college football games.
Yeah.
Okay? The games don't take 4 hours, okay? The downtime in college football is out of control, okay? Case in point, the Notre Dame North Carolina game was a shit show. It was a circus, okay? I don't know what's going on with the referees. The referees are just making calls for no reason. I'm not sure what the deal was. The game took forever because they wanted to replay every single thing. Replays in college football take a year and a half. So it was just insane. And it took away from, what was kind of an exciting game for a while. Notre Dame finally got their offense on track, which that tells you how bad North Carolina's defense is, that Notre Dame put up 45 points on them.
Yeah.
But at one point, the North Carolina had the ball near the end zone. They went for a fourth down. They threw it. They called Notre Dame had the ball at the end, near the end zone. They threw a pass on fourth down. They called pass interference. And it was it was one of those where the ball goes by, the corner tries to get in front of the receiver and kind of jumps over, kind of reaches over him and has his hand on his back, whatever. It was a just terrible call to make in that situation on fourth down. And, of course, Mac Brown goes crazy, yelling, screaming at the referees. It was quite a scene. He got a penalty called on him because he was just, couldn't calm down, yelling, screaming at him. I think, it looked like he was about to have a heart attack. But, and the whole game was like that. It was just, geez. And then they make a play, penalty, penalty. We gotta, like it. First of all, it takes so much longer. Like they're about to run the next play. The previous play is under review. Okay, well, I could have gone to the bathroom, come back, done my taxes. It's just, I mean, and I again love the sport, but some of these games.
Yeah, they got. I mean, that's just, come on, guys. I mean, it's the same thing. That's one of the things with college football. It's like there's so much great stuff, but then there's just stuff where it's like, can we fix the length of the games? No, we'll think about it. We should expand the playoff. Yeah, we well, I don't know. We'll meet about it. We'll try to figure it out. Can we do it next year? I don't know if we can figure that out in time. It just seems too tough. I don't know.
And I don't want to spend the whole show just whining about it, but it's symptomatic of there's not anybody in charge. Nobody's making stuff better, and this is kind of what you get. And most games are fine. Most of the time it doesn't. But I felt like that game was just having that being said, the game was quite hysterical because Notre Dame basically had the game in hand. They're driving down the field. All they're doing is running the ball because North Carolina can't stop anything. Okay, they're about to run into the end zone. The quarterback fumbles on the 1-yard line. They drove like 95 yards. He fumbles on the 1-yard line, so the game would have been over. But then, it wasn't because of that. So the other thing, I watched the Texas A&M Arkansas game, and I'll tell you what. There's two teams that if they ever get their act together, they could be dangerous. Texas A&M and LSU. They're loaded with talent. They just have players everywhere. It just jumps off the screen at you when you watch. But they just can't get it together. Texas A&M cannot run an offensive series without penalties, without an illegal motion, they can't manage to do anything. There was a receiver who just kept committing penalties the whole game. Illegal crackback blocks, stuff that's just not even necessary. It's not like some penalties I get, but this was just a mess. They managed to win the game because they got an intercept or a fumble return for a touchdown, which was you should look this up. It's one of the craziest plays, I've ever seen. So the Arkansas quarterback fumbles on the goal line. Texas A&M guy picks it up. He's being tackled, but by Arkansas guy, he can't get him to the ground. So he hands it to one of his teammates who runs it, 90 yards for a touchdown. So it was an incredible play. But yeah, I think, again, if Texas A&M gets their act together, they might be dangerous, but they play like this, they're going to get beat by 30 by Alabama.
Right.
So, but it's one of those, I find myself rooting for them. It's just like, they're like the little engine that could. It's like, come on, guys. Come on. Just get it together.
Yeah.
And, we do this, my next thought, we do this every year where college football fans of teams that have been down for a while try to tell us that they're back.
Yeah.
Texas and Miami. Yeah, you're not back. Nebraska, you're not back.
Yeah.
Sorry to say it. Texas lost to Texas A&M. Okay. I'm sorry. Texas lost to Texas Tech. Okay. In overtime. Yeah. Hard fought game. I get it. I understand their quarterback's out, but their backup's still pretty good, so
right.
They played hard, but the idea that Texas is going to be a championship, they're going to win 9 or 10 games I think it's kind of out the window at this point. The other one, Miami, I don't even know what to say about Miami. They got their ass kicked by Middle Tennessee State. That was not some upset where they kind of pulled it off. The quarterback for Middle Tennessee State threw for 400 yards on 16 completions. Okay?
Yeah.
It was an absolute ass kicking. They just dominated them from start to finish. Miami got the quarterback pulled. The coach was, Mario Cristobal was livid after the game. It looked really bad. And the thing is, we're going into the conference schedule now. Miami has to figure this out pretty fast, or they're going to be gone. They'll be lucky to get to a bowl game. They keep that up. So that was disturbing. That game. So, So anyway, so that was my thought on that. So guys, I'm sorry to say it's another year. You're not there yet.
Yeah.
So let's see, what else did I have? Yeah. So Oklahoma. Yeah, you're supposed to have a good defense this year. You got Venables from Clemson. You're telling me how great your defense is. Okay. Yeah, well, your defense is not back. I don't know if it ever was, but it certainly isn't this year. Kansas State ran all over your ass. Okay? 100 yards rushing for the quarterback, 100 yards rushing for the running back, 250 yards passing for the quarterback. They put up 41 points on you. Like, yeah, there's some work that has to be done. And again, all goes back to Oklahoma hasn't played anybody yet. So these people telling me, oh, they look really good. We don't know that. We don't know anything. And getting back to we don't know how good they are, USC. Okay? USC putting up points on Rice and Stanford. Way to go, guys.
And they won. They beat Oregon State, but it was really close.
They beat Oregon State. They scored a touchdown 17? In the second half. One touchdown in the second half. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I apologize. That's incorrect. They had 3 points going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
They managed to get 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, managed to win the game, but only because Oregon State turned the ball over 4 times. So they didn't have this. So this high-flying offense, boy, it didn't look really good on the road against a Power 5 team. Yeah. So we'll see. Now I'm going to hold my breath on USC. They still managed to win the game. The defense played pretty well. They got the 4 turnovers. So, but it's a little early to jump into the USC's really good camp. They haven't done anything yet. So we'll see. But but that being said, every week in college football, this is why it's great. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what who's going to lose, who's going to come close to losing. So as I said, to lead off, it's hard to win. Just figure out how to win. As we saw, Alabama had a hard time winning against Texas. So
well, on the other, like you mentioned Miami, I think on the Levitar show they were criticizing this. There really isn't a home game atmosphere for Miami because they're playing at Hard Rock Stadium where the Dolphins play, which, first of all, I hate because in the end zone they just paint Miami. They don't paint the Dolphins thing because they're sharing the stadium with the University of Miami. But also, I'm trying to think because Hard Rock Stadium's in Miami Gardens. It still takes you probably 45 minutes to get from there to Coral Gables, where the University of Miami campus is. So yeah, that's obviously the Orange Bowl was much closer. That's obviously no longer there. So yeah, that definitely, I think that for college teams especially, I think that kind of weighs on you. You're not getting the same kind of. And by the way, I'm a graduate of Florida Atlantic University, and they played the first several years in the college football. They played in Dolphin Stadium, and granted, Florida Atlantic is nowhere near as thought of as the University of Miami. But you're kind of playing to what feels like an empty stadium. There's just not enough people there.
Yeah, so I put a little bit of that game on, and it was drop a pin quiet. I don't know that I've seen a college football game that quiet ever.
And that stadium can get noisy. It was noisy today during the Dolphins-Bills game. So yeah, that's definitely
there was nobody at the game. It's shocking. Yeah. If you watch the highlights of that game, the empty seats, it's amazing. So yeah, they were getting their ass kicked, and no one's there to watch it.
Yeah, so they were getting their ass kicked in front of a few people.
Yeah. So yeah, I think they really need to build their own stadium. Because I've been to the Orange Bowl for a game. The atmosphere at the Orange Bowl was incredible. Yeah. It was, the people really loyal. I think there is a solid Hurricane fan base. I just think they need their own stadium. I don't think people are going to go to Dolphin Stadium to watch them.
Yeah, because for the people who aren't in Florida, it's funny they're called the Miami Dolphins, but and now they're calling it Miami Gardens, but I don't think it used to be called that. And it's not really, when you go to it's not in the middle of Miami or something. It's not like the American Airlines Arena where the Heat play or the Marlins Stadium, which is, right in the middle of, the middle of Miami. So, yeah, it's different.
Yeah. So, but that being said, Miami's in big trouble. because this is not going to be be easy. They got to play some good teams in the ACC, so they better get their act together. So anything else on college football?
No.
Okay. All right. So moving on to amazingly enough, Clark, I was thinking about this. The NFL used to be I feel like the NFL used to be the drama league. There used to be all kinds of drama in the NFL, and sometimes there still is. I mean, we still have that, Washington Commanders thing with the owner, and they
the
still
Dallas Cowboys always give you some kind of drama,
right? I just felt like there was all kinds of and all kinds of drama and upheaval. I feel like the NBA has kind of taken that over now. I feel like the constant hand wringing about all these kinds of things, like especially because of COVID, and because the people, the whole Kyrie Irving mess with the vaccine, and then Kevin Durant wants to be traded, and then Ben Simmons doesn't want to play, and then I just feel like there's something like that in the NBA all the time now.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, the
which
Boston
thing
Celtics.
Do you want to talk about? You want to talk about Robert Sarver? Or you want to talk about Ime Udoka?
Yeah. So let's do the Celtics first.
Okay.
So Boston Celtics, it came out this week that they have suspended their coach Ime Udoka for the entire season. Okay. So the initial point I want to make about this is, it came out through various sources that I guess he had they're saying consensual relationship. Yeah, details are really sketchy. So don't quote me on anything. That he had a relationship with a woman in the organization and made some unwanted sexual advances. I don't know if that's to her or another woman, whatever. So what basically came out, the Celtics held a press conference, and basically what I got from it was that they basically said he violated team rules, so he got suspended. I didn't hear them go into specifics about why this happened. Okay.
Yeah.
Reporters started leaking stuff, and I think Adrian Wojnarowski reported that he had a relationship with a coworker, and that was part of it. But it launched into this, because everything is speculation nowadays. It launched into this huge Twitter speculation about which woman was it, and people sharing photos of women that work for the Celtics. Is it her? Is it this one? What do you think about this? And apparently it became a huge deal. So I'm watching, some YouTube clips, and on First Take, okay, and not only on First Take and then on the NBA Today,
yes.
Stephen A. Smith and Kendrick Perkins both
yes.
started questioning, what happened to, Ime Udoka got in trouble, and understand that. Of course he should get in trouble. Why didn't the woman get any disciplinary action? What happened to her? And basically, like, you could tell, you didn't have to read very far between the lines. So they brought Malika Andrews onto First Take on the phone, and then Malika Andrews hosts the NBA Today.
Yes.
She was not happy at all that they were talking this way, and I agree with her. My first thought was, this is what we're concerned about? Like, really? Like, there's no place else to go with this story except for something that you don't even know any details or facts. You can't confirm any facts about it. And don't tell me Adrian Wojnarowski reported it. That doesn't mean anything. Okay? You don't know what happened, so why are you concerned about this? Well, this woman needs to be disciplined. Really? Like, that's what we're going to worry about?
Yeah, here's what I'm going to, and by the way, for those of you, if you're going to go onto YouTube or you're going to go on Twitter or the internet and start researching this, first of all, just be careful. And also, I'll just let you know that a lot of the stuff you're going to see or read is probably going to be terrible fucking takes by horrible people. Okay? So, first of all, look, from what I gather, and again, I don't know all the facts, but from what I gather, it seems like, first of all, they suspended him a year. They wouldn't have suspended him a year if this wasn't a really, really, really serious situation. Okay? So,
and Clark, just to interrupt, they brought in an independent law firm to investigate this for them.
For months, yes. It seems to me that maybe it was sort of a thing where he's having a relationship with a subordinate who was also married, because he's engaged. Ime Udoka is engaged. So he was having cheating, I guess you would say, and then allegedly, and then the person that he was with was, I guess, with him, she was cheating on, I guess she was married. Okay, whoever this person is, I don't know. In fact, I don't even really need to know. Okay,
Nor does anybody else.
Yeah, exactly. So, but from what I gathered, it seemed like maybe it was some sort of subordinate thing.
Right.
But even if, and if that's the case, then like you saying you're going to penalize the woman, well, if it's a subordinate thing, that becomes a thing where, first of all, that's why you don't want to do that, because then it becomes a thing. Well, is this person really into you, or are they just with you because they're concerned about their job, they're concerned about their employment, their continued employment with the Celtics. So there was that aspect of it, and then in terms of the Malika Andrews stuff. So I happened to be on Twitter. No, I wasn't on Twitter. I was on the internet or on YouTube or something. From what I saw, someone made this point. He goes, well, why are you guys criticizing interoffice romance and then they were criticizing Malika Andrews because apparently she's dating Dave McMenamin, who's an NBA reporter for ESPN. Now again, I don't know if that's true or not, but also who gives a shit because they work at ESPN. Okay, the Boston Celtics can have different policies on interoffice, romances, interoffice relationships, So that really doesn't, And then if people wanted to go down that rabbit hole, from what I saw, Jalen Rose used to be married to Molly Karam, who hosts. First Take,
but here's the problem with that. We don't know. Okay, they were in a relationship, so you don't know all the other details.
Exactly.
Like that's only a small, tiny part of it.
And it's like you really think they would have suspended him for a year if it wasn't a really, really big fucking deal, And also you have to understand. And then again, people are like, "Well, we need to be able to criticize the women," and I'm like, I'm not necessarily saying you can't, but at the same time, like. Do you realize what the internet is? Do you realize what Twitter is and YouTube and stuff? It's a cesspool, okay? Particularly for people criticizing women or other marginalized groups. Like people get away with all kinds of awful. People say all kinds of awful stuff on Twitter and YouTube and other places. So, is that really what we like? You were saying, is that really what we need to do right now? Like really?
Well, the other thing is, what are you criticizing based on? You don't know what the situation was. You have no idea what he did, she did, how they handled it. You don't know. So my whole argument from the beginning about this is the Celtics should be handling this internally. Okay? And by the way, it sounds like, that's what's going on. They didn't come out and give all these details in the press conference.
No, they investigated it for months. They hired a law firm to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, by the way, for the people who are like, well, I don't understand why people in offices can't be in relationships. Look, I'm not making some blanket statement about what companies decide to do. They can decide to have whatever policy they want. But the simple fact is that if these things go on, then a variety of issues can come up. A variety of emotional issues can come up between the people that are working there and other people. Like, oh, well, did this person just get promoted because they're in a relationship with this person? There's all kinds of issues that come up. So that's why some organizations have decided we don't want any part of this, And also, don't lump in other organizations with the Boston Celtics. They're their own team. They have their own rules, their own policies for their employees. So don't just go, well, this organization did this. So it's a different organization. Like, what do you?
And we don't know what's behind the suspension. This could be just we're suspending him now until we figure out how to let him go. Like you don't, So yeah, it just irresponsible by ESPN. Just guys, what are you like? It's just what are you talking about? Like they should be talking about, okay, how is this going to affect the Celtics going forward? How do we feel the Celtics have handled the situation? But asking the Celtics to give you more details about what's happening is completely ridiculous. So I think maybe Boston did something wrong here. But by the way, if Boston did something wrong, then whoever this woman is should sue their ass off. Okay? Yeah. There are avenues for these people. It's not like Boston's hiding it. Maybe they did before, but they're not now. So that drove me.
Well, by the way, anybody who's worked at a company, like the internal workings of the company and employee discipline and things, for any regular person, that's kept quiet. Okay. So what you're saying, could because this information came out, could there be a potential for legal action? Yes, there definitely could.
Yeah. Why do you think the Celtics did this?
Yeah, and by the way,
part
for
of
all the
this,
people, like for all the people wanting to criticize women, watch the press conference with Brad Stevens when he's talking about all the women, all the other women in the Celtics organization who are getting dragged the last few days. Like, oh, is it this person? Is it this person? Is it this person? You know, and even I love what Brad Stevens said. He's like, all the stuff that happens on Twitter, all the bullshit, you know, which they beeped out. But it's like, yeah, he's absolutely correct. Well, by the way, let's move off that. How do you think this affects the Celtics?
Well, no, just real quick before we do that, I read an article on the USA Today. They were criticizing the Celtics for not doing a better job of protecting these women from being, you know, people trying to find them on Twitter and all that stuff.
Right.
And yes, it's really disturbing. It's messed up that's what social media and the internet has turned into. I get it. What did you want the Celtics to do? Like, I
would just question, how did this get out?
Right.
You know. Oh, and by the way, Matt Barnes, I guess he had a social media post or something, or an Instagram post about it, and then he said he talked to somebody who's in the know, and for whatever that means, or however much you want to trust that, you know. And he said, I'm going to totally change my opinion. He said, from what I've heard, this is 100 times worse than you could imagine. Which, again, like I said, they wouldn't have suspended him for a year if it wasn't a big frickin' deal.
And my thing with him is, first of all, why are you commenting on it at all if you don't know anything about it, number one? Number two, why bother? Like, I don't understand, you know, everyone, like, I don't like people just recklessly putting it out. Well, this is way worse than you know, like, so you're going to tell me that, but you're not going to tell me any more than that. So why even go there? Like, I just kind of, you know, it just blows my mind. I know we need time we need to fill up time with stuff. I get it. But anyway, so how does this affect the Celtics? You know, listen, from what I saw, it seems like he's a really good coach. So yeah. I think they've got some issues, but honestly, like, if you're asking my opinion, I'm going to do I'm not speculating. Okay. I'm just guessing, right? My best guess would be, Udoka's not coming back. You know, he's going to be out this season. They're going to figure out a way. They'll work out the contract details, whatever. So I think Brad Stevens is going to be looking to bring somebody in. And so we'll see. So we'll see how that goes. Now, luckily, the NBA is a long season, so they have some time to kind of work on stuff. But, yeah, he was definitely an asset to the things that they did. Yeah. So I think, you know, I mean, I didn't think they were the favorite anyway to get out of the East, but I think this makes it really challenging.
It seems to me that he kind of created their defensive identity, and he got them to buy in, you know, and got them to be the best, because we've seen a lot of these players before for years. And then finally it seemed like last year they'd figured out exactly how they need to play to get the best out of themselves. Right. And it seemed like he was a big part of that. So I think this is a humongous loss, because it's easy to say, well, the players will just hold each other accountable.
They didn't before he got there.
That's right. They didn't before he got there. And by the way, you can only go, well, we'll just keep going with what we were doing before. That only works for so long. You know.
What it sounds like to me, what it sounds like happened was the Celtics were kind of on the last straw. They brought in Udoka, and it's like, okay, guys, if it doesn't work with this coach, you're out of here. I think that's literally what happened. And by the way, first half of the season, it wasn't working. Like, you know, it took him a while to get through to these guys to go, guys, this is how you're going to have to play if you want to be successful at this. And then they kind of picked up on it in January, and they were the best team in the league. The second half of the regular season. So, anyway, any other thoughts on the Celtics, or you want to move on to the?
No, we can talk about other stuff.
Yeah, so the Phoenix Suns are available.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Clark, I'm about $4 billion short. You think you can help me out?
No, sorry.
So, first, the NBA suspended Robert Sarver, the owner of the team, for a year for a whole litany of behaviors, you know, misogynistic, derogatory, you know,
making really dirty jokes, talking about sending pornographic material to people through email, talking about his sexual exploits, you know, different things like that for years, apparently.
Yeah, this is not new. This has been going on for a while. All the NBA owners know it. The players know it. He's definitely reviled in the league for the person that he is. And so the NBA, they did an investigation, a year ago probably.
Yeah.
About everything that goes on there. And the NBA decided to suspend him for a year and they fined him $10 million, I think, because that's basically all the NBA can do. Like they can't. I know they banned Donald Sterling for life, but that was a little different situation.
Well, they had all the owners behind them, and I don't think they.
Right.
From what Colin Cowherd was speculating this, and I think this is probably a pretty good theory. I just think there weren't enough owners who were totally behind it, and also maybe they just felt like, well, if someone investigated our team this long, they would find stuff like this, and then they'd try to take my team away. So I don't know that I want to push him out.
Well, and banning him or suspending him, whatever, that's a completely different issue than selling the team. They can't really make him sell the team at all. But I do think this was this was kind of orchestrated. The NBA doing their thing, LeBron and Chris Paul coming out against him. I think
this was sponsors dropped out.
Right. I think this was a campaign to get him out of there, and then he came out with a ridiculous statement. Basically saying that he's going to try to sell the team because this climate is very unforgiving.
Right.
So go ahead, Clark. You have the floor.
Well, first of all, if you guys didn't hear this statement that this douche canoe put out, Robert Sarver, as a man of faith, I believe in atonement and the path to forgiveness. And then later on. But in our current unforgiving climate, has become painfully clear that this is no longer possible. Yeah, we're really unforgiving for, you creating a culture of, in your organization that's really horrible to, women and minorities and, everything else. And you just being really deeply offensive when you own the team. Yeah, okay, sure. It's all about just us being unforgiving. If you made one comment, that's one thing. But the fact that there was this long investigation where you created this entire culture or climate in your organization that's, offensive and ridiculous, it's ridiculous for you to then say, oh, well, we're just an unforgiving culture now. Yeah, it's just kind of, I'm not surprised that he would have a statement like that. I'm not surprised that, a lot of these people just flat out don't get it, because he's a billionaire, you're just kind of out of touch with stuff. And then people, because you're a billionaire and also because you own the team, when you're walking around and people are interacting with you, there's an aspect where people may be afraid of you, or they're going to act differently, or they're going to want to impress you, particularly if they work for you. They're going to want to impress you because they want to keep their frickin' job, because they got a mortgage to pay and they got a wife and they got kids and whatever else. So, it doesn't surprise me that he's this out of touch. But yeah, it's I guess it's good that he's selling the team, and now this will be kind of interesting who comes in. But what did you think about all the people criticizing that Adam Silver got this wrong and they should have kicked him out instead of doing the 1 year suspension and the $10 million fine?
Yeah. So listen, I understand the players feeling this way. I completely get it. I understand everybody feeling this way. I get it. Yeah. The NBA is limited in what they can do, though, unless you have the vote of the board of governors. Basically the teams. Like you can't do anything like banning him for life. And by the way, the banning Donald Sterling for life only worked out because his wife figured out how to trick him into selling the team. Yeah. Like that's the only reason that worked out. Otherwise, that wouldn't have been so clean. Right. And I think that, you can try to keep, it's really hard to get these owners to leave. Look, they've tried to get rid of Daniel Snyder over and over and over again in football. Haven't been able to do it. If the guy just refuses to sell, I'm not sure what you're supposed to do. But I do think that, they applied pressure to him and got him to do it. But yeah, I don't think this is a situation where you blame the NBA. Know? I mean, yes, they should have gotten rid of. He should have been out of there much sooner. But
what exactly? Finally, that's going to happen.
Right. What were they supposed to do?
Yeah.
It's I think it's just easy to go in and say, you should have done, whatever. But the NBA did respond to this investigation.
Yeah.
Yes, he shouldn't be in the league. I agree, LeBron, 100%. But it's not easy to just snap your fingers and just, all right, see you later. It just doesn't work. The system's not built that way.
But hey, LeBron, you coming out and saying something helped result in this. He's going to sell the team now. You and Chris Paul, like that, especially given the fact Chris Paul plays for the Phoenix Suns.
Right.
Yeah. So, well, the only other point I wanted to make was Robert Sarver's statement. He didn't say cancel culture, but it feels like he's referencing that when he says unforgiving climate. And let me just tell you guys something about cancel culture, which is this has gotten completely fucking ridiculous. Okay, let's go over people who have been canceled. Okay, Harvey Weinstein, yes, he should have been fucking canceled. R. Kelly, yes. Bill Cosby, yes. Louis C.K. was basically canceled. He's still doing shows and stuff now, but he took a huge hit with that whole thing that happened. Okay, right. I'm trying to think of some other people, but Matt Lauer. There were some other people in the news who did some horrible. Bill O'Reilly. There were other people in the news who did horrible stuff too, and they were canceled, and they fucking should have been. Okay, people are acting like someone comes out and says one thing and then they get canceled. It's like, no, you fucking idiot. That's not what happens. It's just like, and that's the thing that when I heard, Robert Sarver's statement, I'm like, oh, you fucking, like, you rich asshole. Like, that's what they always say. And it's like, oh, it's just cancel culture. You can't blah, 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 blah. Or the, what's her name? Gina Carano, who was on The Mandalorian, right? She got canceled. She sent out some tweet. Now, again, it was like one tweet, and I guess you could argue that it was stupid, but she also works for Disney. Like, Disney doesn't want a bunch of controversy around stuff. Or political controversy. So what do you?
Yeah, I
it's
don't.
One of those things. Whenever you hear someone say cancel culture and they whine about it and they say it's wrong or whatever, it's like, dude, fuck off. Like a lot of times it's deserved.
Yeah, he wasn't canceled for one thing.
Yeah,
he wasn't canceled because he made one mistake that was a bit reckless. Okay.
Yeah,
he's been a douchebag for years and years and years. Talk to anybody who's worked for him. Okay.
Yeah.
He says horrible, misogynistic things to women. He treats them like garbage. Okay. He tells them they're not dressed pretty enough. Yeah. He's a shitty human being. So no, he did not get canceled. And you don't. And by the way, you don't get to use that term if you're selling your team for $4 billion. Go to hell. But anyway, on the bright side. It made me think, man, what would the Dolphins get? Wouldn't it be great to have the Dolphins on the open market? Oh, yeah. Oh, because, the Phoenix Suns, by the way, that's an awesome franchise to own. Great location. They've been around for a long time. Like, it's like there's going to be people tripping over themselves to buy this team. This is perfect. And listen, Robert Sarver bought the team for $400 million. Like, he's going to make a killing. So, yeah, it just made me think, oh, man, wouldn't it be great if the Dolphins were open to everybody to buy? We'd get an awesome owner.
Yeah.
But
hopefully, yeah.
But regardless, no, listen, this all worked out. It's a shame that it took this long. Because he's been...
and again, like I said, look, I did want to make that point because I just thought that was interesting because I just think that's something that's going around in our culture right now, and people just... are promoting this idea that it's like, oh, it's just cancel culture and it's wrong. And it's like, no. They're not just now. Oh, the other point I went, it's like, okay, I got it now. It's like, look, when people go back, you remember that whole thing where like someone went back and they found some comments from John Wayne from like the 70s and they're like, oh my God, this is horrible. It's like, John Wayne's dead. Okay. Move on. Okay.
He's been canceled.
If you want to say that's cancel culture and that's ridiculous, okay, I'll agree with you. That's ridiculous. The dude's dead. Just move on. Okay.
He got canceled on his own. Like he's fine. He doesn't need anybody else to cancel him.
Yeah, he was canceled for all time. Okay, he's gone.
The Duke has been canceled for a long time. We don't have to worry about it. Yeah, so it's NBA drama. My goodness. Like major stuff going on. It's insane. So anyway,
training camps started. I think I saw the Warriors had a practice and some other teams are it's like they're getting into training camps, and I think they'll have to start having preseason games in a week or another couple weeks or something.
I think game. I think the regular season's starting earlier this year. I think it's about 3 weeks from now.
Oh,
Regular
okay.
season starts. Yeah. But anyway, anything else for today?
I don't think so. I think that's well. Did we want to talk about where we think? Because Sean Payton said he would be interested in coming back to coaching if it was the right situation. So I was just like, where do you think he should go?
Well, listen, based on the way the NFL is, there's going to be 7 or 8 openings anyway.
Yeah.
So, where should he go? Good question.
I was thinking Carolina will probably be open.
Yeah,
Denver might be open. And people are like, what are you talking about? Dude, if you can't even get the plays in, Denver, I'm trying to think of what else. The Jets potentially, but I don't know why you'd want to go there. I know that the Dolphins pursued him, but I kind of don't really want to go down that road because I think McDaniel seems to be a pretty good coach. I was trying to think of who else, like the Chargers, if their coach keeps going for it on 4th down, or if they don't make the playoffs. I don't know. It's possible. I think that was pretty much all I could really think of. I mean, I was going through the other teams, and it's like, Cincinnati wouldn't fire their coach. I don't think the Browns would. Arizona, maybe, possibly. I don't know. But I think that's kind of interesting. But I don't know. I mean, it's kind of, and then people will talk about Dallas, but I'm just like, Dallas, does Sean Payton's going to want control, and Jerry Jones is not going to. I don't think he's giving that up. So
yeah, I think everybody loves that connection because of because he used to work for them, and they know that he's good friends with Jerry Jones. So everyone wants that connection. I think it's nonsense. I don't think he's taking the Cowboys job.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, it's a good thought, But we'll see. You never know with the NFL, man, because any job could be open all of a sudden. You never know.
Yeah.
What if Todd Bowles in Tampa doesn't want to be the head coach anymore? What if who? It's anybody's guess. I'm just trying to think what There's a lot. The thing is, it's hard with him because every team needs him.
Yeah.
Every team could use Sean Payton.
Yeah.
There's only a few that you're like, no, they probably wouldn't. But any team that's mediocre to bad, they would all love to have him.
I mean, Carolina could use him. I mean, speaking of, you mentioned Tampa. Speaking of teams that I've not been impressed by, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, particularly on offense, because they just lost today. I'm not really digging what I'm seeing from them.
Yeah, the NFC is really wide open.
So the Eagles, I don't think it's crazy anymore, man. I really don't.
They have the one of the easiest schedules in the NFL. They get to play the NFC least, so they beat up on that division, and they could get the 1 seed easily.
Yeah, the Commanders, they're not that good. And the Cowboys, well, they're not going to have Dak for the next couple weeks still. So even with Dak, they weren't that good. So
Philadelphia's just a really solid team on both sides of the ball. They do everything well. And I don't know if they're great at anything, but they do everything well.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So we'll check in with you next Sunday when the Dolphins are 4-0.
I mean, at this point,
I don't want to get cocky, but hey, why not call our shot? What do we got to lose?
Yeah, exactly. Let's get ahead of ourselves. Yeah.
So anyway, make sure you listen, like, subscribe, comment. We are not Tua haters this week. We're Tua defenders somehow.
That's true. Yeah.
We're just trying to keep everybody on the reservation.
That's right.
All right, folks.